So what was kind of the falling out or the end of kind of the relationship with I mean, I know you guys are still friends and shit, but I mean, at some point, you guys were label mates, and the touring, the music, and all that kind of stuff kind of parted ways. What happened there?
You know what? I've heard two stories, and I don't know which is truth. But I'll tell you. So there's one story for obviously KRS-One's perspective, and then there's a label story, and that's kind of like Dax and Trevor and Rich Keegan's perspective. And KRS's perspective is he didn't get paid the money that he was supposed to get paid. He wasn't given the support to support us the way that they had discussed. And he started to lose a lot of respect for Dax, the Tunnel Rats, and Trevor and Rich and the whole label. And that kind of soured things on his end. And then on the label end, there was I feel like on the label end, they're saying, well, he didn't fulfill his contractual obligation in regard to finishing the album, which is true. That part I know is true as far as him not finishing the album, because we finished the album for him. If you listen to the Life album, there are plenty of hooks that I'm doing and other people are doing, and we had to piece that album together because KRS really only had like 2 or 3 sessions on that album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had to piece it together. And then the support kind of stopped for the group. The support continued for me because KRS kind of took to me. Like you know what I mean? He fucked with me. And he took me out and issues out, even against his own desires, because he really didn't want the label to flourish since he felt like they fucked him business-wise.
Got it.
And then there were like, philosophical differences and shit, like stuff that I tripped about back then, but I don't necessarily now. And I was way too immature to quite understand, KRS, the Tunnel Rats are a gospel group and a gospel label. And they believe in their belief system. Like these guys are Christians, and they wholeheartedly believe that belief system. At the time, KRS was on some like, I'm creating a new religion and it's called hip hop and he's the Christ of it. And I have a Bible for it and I have all these things. And at this point in my life, I guess I kind of understand where he was going, that whole like, never die kind of thing, and creating a legacy for yourself that is going to precede you and feed your family for, generations to come. And that was kind of his, just his idea at the time and what he was pushing. But that was definitely against anything that had to do with Christian gospel.
Of course.
And so the philosophical differences were just a lot, and they were really butting heads. And, KRS is somewhat of an antagonist, no pun with the record label, but he kind of is. He'll poke and prod and he'll fuck with your mind a little bit. And he did that, and it just really didn't help. And ultimately, that's where him and I ended up parting company, because I ended up signing a 2-album deal with Antagonist Records on some solo shit. And he didn't like that. I took that deal over the deal that he offered because that deal couldn't happen. And I'll tell you what that was. So he had offered me Propaganda and Issues to be a group, to be it was the 2005 BDP.
No shit.
Yeah. And he had said, but the caveat is you can't fuck with them. Meaning you can't fuck with Dax, you can't fuck with the Tunnel Rats, you can't fuck with Antagonist Records. Fuck that whole situation. And though Issues and I were sort of on the train because we weren't getting the label support that we kind of wanted either. Like my whole shit was popping more because of my association with KRS versus the label shit. Especially at this time, because we hadn't put out a project. We hadn't even put out the DVD we were supposed to put out. We hadn't actually put out anything. It was just like me hitting the road and doing local shows and doing like international and national shows with KRS that was getting my name up. So me and same with Issues. So Issues was on the same train, but Propaganda, his home was the Tunnel Rats. He couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to diss his
He
own
couldn't
friends.
walk away
Yeah.
from that. That was his home. He's still a Tunnel Rat. He still fucks with that's still family to him. So, and KRS had this whole thing like it's either all three of y'all or none of y'all.
Got it. It was a package deal.
It's a package deal. You either fuck with me or you don't. And when we couldn't kind of put that together, I decided to sign my deal with Antagonist and Image because I always had solo music, and that was ultimately the goal. Like the Tunnel Rats was a cool vehicle, but I never seen that being a long-term Wu-Tang. We gonna make fucking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 albums together. Like
That's right.
I never seen it that way because we all had way different approaches and philosophies in life. Like at the time, I was kind of like a very, very, very loose Christian, but was trying to get more into it because of the influence of them, but it being counterproductive to who I was, or should I say it being not anti, but way different than who I was as an artist up until that point. I think the content that I was putting out or that I was writing definitely wasn't Christian content. So that was a conflict. Even on the album, it was kind of weird because me, Issues, and Random, we're cursing, but Prop and Shames aren't. And there's certain things that they can't say, but we're making records about violent shit, and like they can't really go all the way there. It was it was weird, man. And so I signed my deal, and when KRS found out that I signed that deal, him and I's relationship kind of came to an end. It kind of came to an end. As far as professionally, I mean, we're still cool. If I run into,
we've seen him a handful of times, different events, and you've still hyped man for him.
He's he's fam and shit. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I pop him emails every now and then, see how he's doing, see how his amazing wife is doing, and they're good peoples and shit. But our working relationship came to an end at that point because of like label disputes and just differences of opinion based on like life beliefs and shit.
Yeah. Speaking of label disputes, so you ended up signing a two album deal with the same label that Foot Soldiers came out on, Antagonists.
Yeah. So
how many but only one project came out?
Yeah, so the idea came behind the Legion of Doom shit. So the Legion of Doom put out that mashup album, but it was a mixtape, it wasn't an album because they were using copywritten material. Like these were like really.
Oh, so that was a mixtape that was sold in retail stores though.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, you could find it online. You
can
purchase
online,
hard copies.
No, for sure. But you weren't gonna find it in Tower Records.
I'm pretty certain I got one. Okay.
Well, if you did, I had nothing to do with that because I obviously wasn't in control of the distribution. So if you dig, that's information that I'm learning now. But so. The verse that I spit on that Static Lullaby mashup shit really fucking got a lot of fucking traction on their MySpace page and on their website. They were selling the shit through and all that. Like they were like, yo, who's this Triune guy? Like, holy fuck. Like they was really into it. So they came to me with the idea. I didn't come to them. At the time, I was actually shopping my deal with Spontaneous with other people. Like we were trying to go to like so Spawn was like working on the Feel the Agony album, and Feel the Agony had some label he was fucking with. And so we were shopping my shit over there, the self-titled album at the same time. We were working on this and working on the CEO shit. This is all the same time.
This same time that you were doing the ghostwriting.
That too. All the same time doing ghostwriting. I put out the God's Plan 1 mixtape. I put out the Uno Entertainment mixtape. We put out we created the CEO album. We did the self-titled album. This is all within this 2004 to 2006 week window. We recorded the Unsigned Hype mixtape for XL. We recorded pretty much enough of an EP for Janae Damio, who's featured on I'm Leaving on Celebration.
That's right.
Kat, who I mentioned earlier, who was also a friend of mine. She's a poet. We recorded a poetry slash vocalist album. It was like an album with a vocalist and a poet. between her and Janae that I still have copies of. Like, I was building the Uno Entertainment label. So Excel was on the label. Janae was on the label. Kat was on the label. Like, I was trying to build my own roster at the time. So all this shit is happening at the same time. So that's why I guess it's a little, wire crossing.
A little convoluted. So, yeah. So, but sorry, getting back to it, they only dropped one project out of the two that was in the deal for
Yes, so the Legion of Doom shit went so crazy that they came to me and it was like, yo, we want to do a 2-album deal with you. We want to do the first one to be a Legion of Doom versus Triune mashup album. Basically the same shit that we did on their incorporated album, but to do it over original music. And I've always been eclectic and loved different shit. So I was like, yeah, but the second album was going to be my album, meaning whatever I kind of cook up with Spawn. And I signed that deal because they gave me a really deep, for me, they gave me an amazing deal. They gave me an amazing advance, and yeah, like it was financially, it was better than anything that anybody else was offering at the time. So I took it. Yeah, so I took it. And the Legion of Doom shit ended up coming out, I think, in 2007.
Yeah, but it was released unmixed and unmastered.
Tell me about it. Yeah, so 2007, it was released, and then the second album never materialized.
That's right. That was when you were living in South Bay and I was still out there too. That was when we were kicking it super tough.
Yeah, we were kicking it a lot, and they paid me though, so I can't complain. I remember when I got out that deal. Not to go too far in the future, because I know we still got some things to talk about in that time period, like the 04 to 06 time period. But to just conclude that, I gotten out of my deal. I'll never forget, Trevor called me, and he was like, look, when the label is going away from distributing CDs, we're not exactly sure how we're going to do a digital strategy, but we are not going to be, we're going to let you go from your second album obligation. I got a check for you. I was like, all right. So he pulled up to my old spot in Gardena. You remember?
Yep.
And he was like, here's your... No. He told me meet him at some bank in Pasadena. That was it. So I got up to that bank in Pasadena, and he handed me my check. I took it in. I basically cashed it. And he was like, yo, like, you're free to do whatever you want to do. And at the time, me and you were working on God's Plan 2 and Celebration. So like 9 days after I got out my deal, we put out God's Plan 2.
Got a clique full of shooters. They won't let